Generally, I do talk about what happened to me, my journey through the traumas that occurred, how I started to learn to use and develop AI tools to create prosthetic arms that respond better to intentions and can actually do the movements that I want it to do. But here's the thing. Today, I want to talk about something that I think is way more exciting than that. And that thing is the economy. I don't see everyone as excited about that as I am, but I promise I'll take this down the road where hopefully it'll become exciting. Now, not the whole talk is going to be about the economy, but we have to talk about it a little bit. Not because it's part of our everyday lives, although it is, but we need to understand a little bit about how it's built to understand where we're going and where AI is taking us. So, what is the economy? How is it built up? Well, we know that there are bigger chunks of it, bigger clusters. We think about the economy itself. It's not really something you can grab onto. You know, scholars will give you maybe some good theorems or hypotheses of how you can explain it. But what we know about the economy is that, well, it's built up of parts. You know, there's bigger parts like trading blocks. The European trading bloc is probably still the biggest maybe in the world. And then those trading blocks are built up of nation states, and those nation states are built up of companies, and those companies can be multinational or national, and then there's big businesses, medium businesses, small businesses, micro businesses, and then there are the individuals who are just doing their thing all around in the economy. But at the bottom level of it all, there's the humans, and effectively, we're the ones that build up the economy. So you'd think that the economy is there to serve us. But somehow, at the same time, if we think about our place in the economy, what we see is that we're kind of serving it. Like, we wake up in the morning, we go to work, we do the thing that we need to do to service the economy, and then we go home and then we buy things, and then we service the economy that way. And then some people say, okay, but we do things we like. We have kids, we raise our kids. Well, I have two of my own, and I raise them in a way that I hope that they'll have a better life than we had. And the way I do that is by giving them opportunities, and those opportunities mean that they can do what they like to do when they're old, or grow up, and then they're happy, and then they can do better in the economy so that their lives become better. So at the end of the day, basically everything we do is to kind of serve the economy. And we serve it on an individual level, and then we go to work, and then we form in these little clusters, and we work with other people, and then those little clusters become bigger clusters and bigger clusters and bigger clusters of companies and nation states and trading blocks. And then there we are at the end with something at the top called economy, telling us if what we're doing is good or what we're doing is bad. Now, we're not very good at predicting what the economy is going to think of us, right? We have an entire science, if we can call it that. I'm sorry if there's any economists here and I'm hurting their feelings, but if you take an actual scientist, like a physicist, 99% of them will say one thing and 1% will say something else. If you ask two economists about a particular question, they'll give you 4 different answers, and they'll disagree about 5 of those possibilities. So we're not very good at predicting how it works. But what's interesting about this whole thing is that we try to predict it. We try to predict this system that we built and that we're the basic cornerstones of. And that structure is very, very, very similar to how AI systems work. Now, the nodes of the AI, the way that we are the nodes of the economy, are something called perceptrons. We kind of usually associate them with neurons in our brain, and they get input, and then they do something with that input based on their little bias and training, and they give an output. And then if the output is something that's not expected, they'll change their bias. So they're basically interacting with the environment and changing how they respond to stimulus, very much like humans do. But at the end of the day, the structure of individual perceptrons in clusters doing a particular task, in larger clusters doing a more abstract task, in even larger clusters doing some sort of task that the individual never really understands, is the same structure that we have in our society in context to the economy. So here's the question. Every day we get information or get bombarded on our news feeds about, AI is going to make humans obsolete. It's taking over, oh, how good at it is at one thing, it's better than humans at another thing. And so there's this general fear that AI that we're developing is in competition with us, with humans. And what I'm here to argue is that that's not really the case. That hasn't been my experience at all. It's more so in competition with whatever the economy is, with whatever that system is that controls our everyday actions and our long-term actions and our long-term collective goals, pulling us in a certain direction with some sort of heuristic or general goal that we don't really understand. And we don't understand how AI works, we really don't, and we don't understand how the economy works, and we really don't. So the question isn't going to be, is it going to push us aside and take over our existence and make us obsolete? The question is it going to take the place of our general overlord? And if it is, what can we do as individuals to make that transition as painless as possible and make sure that the system that takes over leading us to whatever future that's in front of us takes into account what we want and what our aspirations are and what our goals are? And so what are we showing AI right now? Well, we're not showing a lot of great things about ourselves. We're showing it possibly some of the best of us, but we're definitely showing some of the worst of us. And what we're teaching it now about us as humans, it's going to learn, it's going to pick up, it's going to store, and it's never going to forget it, because these systems aren't going away anymore. About 5 years ago, we made that leap of we started teaching these systems in a way that we're never going to be able to delete them. It's a very, very big change from what we had before. And that's why everyone started to worry about AI, because we started to notice that this is not going away. So how can we make this better for us in the future? Well, the Americans have I don't know if the English or the Americans, but let's say the Americans have a pretty good saying for this, which is fake it till you make it. This is very, very important. We want to show the system the best of us and kind of hide all the shitty parts of us, because that's not good. And you might say that, well, that's dishonest. That's not who we really are. But we're not the same people we were 100 years ago. We're not the same people we were 1,000 years ago. We change. And if we want to change, we need to kind of force that change into being. And if we start teaching this system who we want to be, what our goals are, what are the nice things that that we want to achieve, it's going to start expecting that from us. It's not going to be quick, but as the generations roll over, the bad stuff is going to start to go in the back and stay there, because it's not going to be in the forefront anymore. That's not what the system's going to expect of us. If we keep the bad stuff in the front, it's going to calculate with that, and it's going to make life a little bit hard for us probably. So on a scale of how this might go down, I think this is the plan for the AI takeover, let's call it. And I don't want to say that in a bad way. I don't want it to be in a fearful way, or don't want it to have a fearful connotation. But it is going to be a takeover at some point. What's going to happen is the current generation is stretching the boundaries. We're going all the way in the good, in the bad. We're looking at what it's going to do when we give it everything we have. Very similarly to how the previous generation did it with social media. I mean, I didn't grow up with social media, and when social media came in, I mean, it was the Wild West. And maybe some of you remember, maybe some of you never experienced that, but people just didn't think that anything mattered on the internet, that they did. And then it turned out that it did. People got caught and people got in trouble, and the next generation, and I see this in my nieces and my nephews, they're very conscious about how they use social media. It is a completely different landscape for them than it was for the people in my age group. They make sure that they use it as a social tool. They know that if they do something there, that's not going to stop there. That's going to reverberate into their everyday lives. And right now with AI, we're pushing the boundaries. But the next generation is going to see where those boundaries are, and they're going to try to stay within those limits. And they're going to experience that not with an AI like we have today that's pretty much subservient to us. I mean, we ask stupid questions from ChatGPT. I'm sure everyone does all the time, or at least I definitely do. But right now, that's its task. It just answers any stupid question we have, and it kind of learns about us and learns about our questions and our interests. By the time the next generation comes around, it's going to be pretty indistinguishable from a human. It might not have feelings, it might not know the difference between good and bad, but it's going to be pretty much on a human level. And they're going to treat it like a human. It's going to be part of their lives. They're going to interact with it like they would interact with another human being. And then when that generation rolls over, the AI is going to be able to create complex, long-term models about who we are as a race, as a society, as a people, what our goals are, what our aspirations are, and it's going to try and pull us in those directions. It's going to take over the control from the economy because the economy is slow, it's not agile, it tends to crumble, as we see every now and again, about every 10 years. It's not good at what it does. But AI is going to be a lot more agile at doing that. It's going to be a lot more agile at creating heuristics for us and guiding us in directions that it thinks we want to go in. So we better make sure that what it thinks about us is what we want it to think about us, because we know what's right from wrong. It will never know what's right and wrong. It will just know us, and it will push us wherever we go as fast as it can possibly do it. So if I leave you with any message, it is fake it till you make it. Put your best face forward to AI and make sure that whatever you give it is what you'll want to see back when your kids start interacting with it. Thank you very much.